You tell yourself you will check just once. Then your hand reaches for the phone again. You open the screen with a small burst of hope. You look for the message that still is not there. You lock the phone and put it down. A few seconds later, your mind drifts back to it. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they saw it and forgot. Maybe they are thinking about what to say. Maybe they are upset. Maybe you said too much. Maybe you should not have sent that last message. Without noticing it, you are no longer just waiting. You are filling the silence with meanings. You are trying to solve a mystery that has no clear evidence. That is why checking your phone can feel so hard to stop. It looks like a tiny habit from the outside, but on the inside, it can feel deeply emotional. It can feel urgent, personal, and strangely exhausting. And the painful part is that the more you check, the more restless you often become. So why do you keep checking if they replied? The first reason is simple. Your brain does not like uncertainty. Human beings are much better at handling pain than unclear waiting. When something is certain, your mind can start adapting. When something is uncertain, your mind stays alert. It keeps scanning for clues. It keeps asking whether you are safe. A delayed reply may seem small, but uncertainty makes it feel bigger than it is. Your brain starts treating the silence like unfinished business. It wants closure. It wants a clean ending. It wants to know what the silence means. Checking your phone becomes a quick attempt to end that uncertainty. For a second, checking gives you the feeling that you are doing something. You may not be solving the problem, but you are responding to the tension. That is why the habit can feel oddly relieving in the moment. You check, and for one brief second, your nervous system feels less helpless. Even when there is no new message, the act of checking can feel like control. And when people feel emotionally uncertain, even fake control can feel soothing. The second reason is that waiting for a reply can quietly activate your attachment system. Your attachment system is the emotional part of you that monitors closeness, distance, and connection. It pays attention to signs that someone is available. It also reacts strongly when someone feels unavailable. This is especially true when the person matters to you. The more emotionally important they are, the more power their silence can hold. A reply from a stranger is just information. A reply from someone you care about can feel like reassurance. It can feel like proof that the connection is still there. So when that reply does not come, part of you may start feeling unsettled. Not because you are weak, but because human beings are wired to care about connection. When the bond matters, your mind naturally pays closer attention. Sometimes the phone is not just a phone anymore. It becomes a doorway to emotional safety. It becomes the place where you expect comfort, clarity, or closeness to arrive. That is why a silent screen can feel heavier than it should. You are not only checking for words, you are checking for emotional confirmation. You are checking for the feeling that you still matter. The third reason has to do with reward. Messages do not arrive on a steady schedule. Sometimes they come fast. Sometimes they come late. Sometimes they come exactly when you are about to give up checking. That unpredictability is powerful. It keeps the brain hooked. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. A reward that comes unpredictably can become even more compelling than a reward that comes regularly. This is why people refresh apps, check notifications, and glance at their phones again and again. Most of the time, nothing happens. Then suddenly, there it is. A name, a message, a small rush of relief. Your brain remembers that feeling. It learns that checking might pay off, so it urges you to check again later. The phone becomes a tiny slot machine for reassurance. You pull the lever with your thumb. You hope this time the answer appears. The fourth reason is that silence interpretation. When people do not respond, the facts are often limited, but your imagination is not limited at all. The mind dislikes empty spaces, so it fills them. It fills them with guesses, fears, and stories. If you already feel secure, you may assume a harmless reason. If you already feel anxious, you may assume a painful one. This is why two people can experience the same delayed reply in completely different ways. One person thinks, they must be busy. Another person thinks, I did something wrong. The event is the same. The meaning changes everything. And once your mind gives the silence a threatening meaning, checking becomes even harder to resist. You are no longer checking from curiosity. You are checking from alarm. You want to know whether the fear in your head is true. The fifth reason is that a late reply can touch old emotional wounds. Sometimes the intensity of your reaction is not only about the present moment, it is also about what this moment reminds your body of. Maybe you grew up around inconsistency. Maybe attention felt warm one day and distant the next. Maybe you learned early that connection could disappear without warning. Maybe you were often left guessing how others felt. If that is true, waiting for a reply may not feel neutral to your nervous system. It may feel familiar in a painful way. Your body may remember the discomfort of not knowing where you stand. And when old pain gets activated, present silence can feel bigger than present reality. You are not just reacting to one unanswered message. You may be reacting to many old feelings waking up at once. This does not mean you are dramatic. It means your nervous system has a history. The sixth reason is that many people tie responsiveness to worth. We may not say it out loud, but deep inside, some part of us can start believing something like this. If they reply quickly, I matter. If they take too long, I matter less. That belief is painful, but it is more common than people admit. When self-worth gets attached to someone else's response time, every delay feels personal. Then waiting stops being just waiting. It turns into a silent test of your importance. That is why the urge to check can come with shame. Part of you knows it is only a message. Another part feels like it says something huge about your value. The seventh reason is hypervigilance. When your nervous system is anxious, it watches for social danger. It pays attention to tone. It pays attention to pauses. It pays attention to changes in rhythm. And yes, it pays attention to delayed replies. If you are already stressed, tired, lonely, or emotionally raw, your sensitivity increases. Small delays can feel louder. Normal silence can feel suspicious. You start checking not only because you want a reply, but because your system is scanning for signs of rejection. This can be exhausting. You are doing detective work with almost no evidence, and yet your body treats it like a real emergency. The eighth reason is that checking can become a ritual. Rituals are things we repeat because they reduce anxiety for a moment. They can seem harmless at first. You check after you send a text. Then you check while brushing your teeth. Then while walking. Then while working. Then right before sleep. Gradually, the habit creates a loop. Anxious feeling appears. You check the phone. You feel brief relief. The relief teaches the brain to repeat the behavior next time. This is how a simple action turns into a self-reinforcing cycle. The more often you use checking to calm anxiety, the more your brain links checking with safety. That is why resisting the urge can feel strangely uncomfortable. It is not only a broken habit, it feels like taking away a coping tool. The ninth reason is that modern communication makes access feel immediate. Because we can reach each other so easily, we unconsciously expect each other to be available. If someone saw your message, your brain may assume they could answer right now. But access does not equal emotional readiness. People may be tired, distracted, overwhelmed, working, resting, or simply not ready to reply. Still, instant communication creates instant expectations, and unmet expectations easily become emotional discomfort. Sometimes what hurts is not only the delay itself, it is the gap between what you expected and what happened. The 10th reason is that you may be using the reply to settle inner uncertainty. Sometimes the deeper question is not, did they text back? The deeper question is, am I okay with not knowing right now? That question is much harder. A reply can temporarily settle your nerves. But if your inner stability depends entirely on outside responses, the relief never lasts long. Soon there is another pause, another gap, another moment of not knowing, and the cycle starts again. This is why the real struggle is often bigger than the phone. The phone is just where the struggle becomes visible. Underneath it may be a fear of rejection, a fear of abandonment, a fear of misunderstanding, or simply a difficulty sitting with uncertainty. So, what can you do when you notice yourself checking again and again? The first step is not to shame yourself. Shame makes the cycle stronger. It adds a second wound on top of the first. Instead of saying, "What is wrong with me?" try saying, "Something in me feels unsettled right now." That small shift matters. It moves you from self-judgment to self-understanding. The second step is to name what you are actually feeling. Are you anxious? Are you lonely? Are you embarrassed about what you said? Are you afraid they are upset? Are you hoping this reply will make you feel chosen? The clearer you are about the feeling, the less power the habit has over you. Checking is often the surface behavior. Naming the emotion helps you reach what is underneath. The third step is to notice the story your mind is telling. Is the story, "They hate me"? Is the story, "I ruined everything"? Is the story, "If they cared, they would answer immediately"? Maybe some of those stories are true, but many of them are guesses shaped by fear. You do not have to believe every fearful story just because it appeared in your mind. The fourth step is to create a pause before checking. Not a huge dramatic pause, just a gentle interruption. When the urge comes, take one slow breath. Relax your shoulders. Ask yourself what you hope to feel if there is a message. Then ask what you fear if there is not. This tiny pause helps you step out of automatic behavior. The fifth step is to widen your world. Anxious checking becomes stronger when your attention narrows to one person, one message, and one outcome. Try returning your attention to your body. Drink water, walk around the room, open the window, write down what you are feeling. Text a friend for connection rather than reassurance. Do one small task that reminds you your life is bigger than this waiting. The sixth step is to build a different source of reassurance. Instead of waiting for the phone to tell you that you are okay, practice telling yourself, "A delayed reply does not define my worth. Silence is uncomfortable, but it is not always rejection. I can survive not knowing for a while. Their timing is not the same thing as my value. These thoughts may feel unnatural at first." That is normal. When the old pattern has been repeated many times, a new pattern needs repetition too. The seventh step is to get curious about who triggers this urge the most. Not everyone creates the same reaction in you. Some people feel easy. Some feel activating. That difference can teach you a lot. It may show you where you feel secure and where you feel emotionally hungry. It may reveal relationships that leave you guessing too often. It may also reveal places where your own old fear gets easily stirred. Awareness does not fix everything immediately, but it gives you a map. The eighth step is to remember that responsiveness is not the only measure of care. Some people care deeply and reply slowly. Some people reply quickly and care very little. Speed is information, but it is not the whole truth. If you want to understand a relationship, look at patterns over time. Look at consistency. Look at effort. Look at honesty. Look at how you feel when you are with them, not just how fast they text. The ninth step is to be honest with yourself about what you need. If unclear communication repeatedly hurts you, that matters. You do not have to pretend you are fine with everything. It is okay to value clarity. It is okay to need steadiness. It is okay to choose relationships where you do not constantly feel emotionally starved. Healing is not only learning to tolerate discomfort, it is also learning to recognize what truly works for your nervous system. And sometimes the healthiest answer is not to become better at waiting. Sometimes the healthiest answer is to stop chasing people who keep you in confusion. If you keep checking whether they replied, it does not automatically mean you are needy. It may mean something in you is seeking certainty, comfort, or connection. That part of you does not need mockery. It needs understanding. It needs steadiness. It needs a deeper sense of safety than a notification can provide. Over time, the goal is not to stop caring. The goal is to care without losing yourself inside the waiting. The goal is to stay connected to your own center, even when someone else is quiet. The goal is to remember that your life does not pause just because a message has not arrived, and maybe that is the quiet healing hidden inside this habit. Every time you notice the urge, you have a chance to understand yourself more deeply. Every time you choose one breath before checking, you practice a new kind of freedom. And every time you remind yourself that your worth is not sitting inside someone else's inbox, you become a little more emotionally grounded. So the next time your hand reaches for the phone again, pause for just a moment. Notice the hope. Notice the fear. Notice the part of you that wants to feel chosen. Then meet that part with gentleness. Because sometimes what you are really searching for is not a reply. Sometimes you are searching for reassurance that you are still loved, still safe, and still enough. And that reassurance is important. But little by little, it can start coming from within you too.